It's time for the moment you've been waiting for. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da.
Awesome. What is going on? Today I'm going to be talking about a very super exciting topic. That's right, flying cars, the future of transportation. Pretty cool, right? All right, let's move on. So before we go talking about all that, crazy like flying car kind of, Blade Runner kind of stuff, let's just talk about some present day transportation. So, what we got, some pretty crazy types of transportation here. First, we got the Swagtron. Pretty cool. You stand on it and stuff. Yeah, it's called the Swagtron. It's got a pretty cool name and all. And let's move on. Second one here we got is just your type of van. Third, we got an airplane. And fourth picture is, of course, a train. Pretty cool, right? So these are just a few things of modern day transportation, things like cars, trains, airplanes, we all use in modern day society. Pretty cool, right? So we use these types of transportation to get to our destinations. We might use the Swagtron, to roll up to your friend's house and, get off and drink some Kool-Aid and play some video games. Pretty cool, right? The van, hockey practice, soccer mom, airplane, you're going to Hawaii, you're going to Mexico, and the train, you're probably on there watching like some dude dressed up in a penguin costume playing the drums trying to make some coin. Anyway, that's out of the question. So we use these things every single day. Maybe not airplanes or trains, definitely the Swagtron, that thing's pretty cool. But, cars, trucks, buses, especially to get to school and back, stuff like that. It's all kind of cool. So they allow us to travel where we want, when we want, with the exception of paying for gas and fuel, which of course is like $1.30. It's crazy. Like who has enough money to spend on gas all the time trying to get places? Anyway, so if we didn't have these things, we'd probably be stuck where we are. Just only thing we see is what's around us, and we could just walk if we want, but who wants to do physical exercise? I mean, that's pretty bad. Anyway, let's move on. Again, let's go back a little farther before we move on to what's going on. So we're going to talk about the beginning of transportation. We got Henry Ford's buggy on the left there. We got horse and buggy, and of course, a bicycle. Heck yeah. All right, so we're going to talk about who created the first motorized vehicle. So this was created by a German inventor named Carl Benz. So as it says, he created the first gasoline vehicle, as there was a steam... Sorry, he may have created the first gasoline-run vehicle, but there was also steam-powered vehicles, which was made for the French army in 1976. So it was created by a man named Nicholas Joseph Cugnot. I don't know how to say that. And the army tractor only went like 2.5 miles per hour. It's pretty slow, but whatever. So before Carl Benz, there was also another person named Robert Anderson who created the electric buggy from 1832 to 1839 in Scotland, which probably also went very slow, like supersonically, like very slow, like snail slow. But that's okay. Anyway, after these two, Carl Benz created a gasoline-run four-stroke engine. It was called the Cannstatt Daimler. I think that's how you say it. But I'm not sure. And when I put that into Google Translate, it also comes out as Cannstatt Daimler. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything other than whatever that means. So these were the first things. But if we go way back, there's also walking, or bet you never heard of this, running, or even cooler, we could have stuff like what the Flintstones drove in like that cartoon. Yeah, pretty crazy. Anyway, let's move on. So now we're going to talk about when we take a car and an airplane and we stick them together and we get what I'm about to talk about. Or a car and a drone, or a helicopter and a car, or a van or a bus. We're going to stick that together and we're going to get a flying car. Pretty cool. So, ways of transportation has become more advanced over the years due to the advances in technology that allow us to create hybrids of vehicles and new types of transportation. Pretty crazy, right? But I mean, I don't know if I'd fly a flying car. It doesn't seem that much fun. It'd be really fun, but I don't think I'd do it anyway. Let me just move to there we go. So, one of which is the flying cars, which at the present moment are more of a rich person's dream and created in small numbers and not manufactured on a large scale. So what I'm talking about here is usually, cars like Ford these companies like Ford or Dodge, whatever, they all mass produce these cars, which are then sold to the public. But flying cars are different, so they're not sold to the public and are totally different. So it's usually just for rich people. I think, I know the price for a PAL V, which is a company that makes flying cars, which will come up farther in the presentation here. One of their cars is worth 350,000 euros, and I think it's like $1.20 Canadian to a euro. So that's a lot of money. Anyway, so over the years, flying cars will become more common. As soon, they will become easier to make and worth less money to build, hopefully, because who has 350,000 euros lying around in their pockets? Definitely not me. I think I have nothing. So, due to the success of drones, we already have an idea about autogyro that we can use to make drone-like flying cars that could, in the future, be sold to the public. Crazy. All right, moving on. Current research on flying cars, whatever. So, flying cars are being developed and made while trying to figure out the flaws before they are mass produced. So, we're making these few cars, working out the flaws before we sell them to people who are going to fly around on them and drive them, as it's not already scary enough driving a normal motorized vehicle, and how many people drive them. Yeah. It's crazy. Anyway, one example of the flying car being made is from a company called PAL V, the personal air and land vehicle, which I talked about like 30 seconds ago. Anyway, so this was founded by two men named Robert, Dingemans and John Backer. They started in 2001, which is really cool. So the vehicle uses autogyro, which I talked about before, to make a car-drone hybrid vehicle. The rotor on top of the car is able to fold down and rest on the top while driving. It's kind of like how a bug folds its wings, like just so it can crawl around. Anyway, so I have some vehicle specifications here. We have the drive mode, max speed 160 kilometers an hour. The fuel economy 7.6 liters per 100 kilometers. Mind me, I'm sick as a dog right now, and I sound like a dying frog. Anyway, the max speed in flight mode, 140 kilometers. It can peak up to 160, it said, but who's going to go that fast while flying? Anyway, fuel economy is 26 liters an hour. It was different for some reason. So I can take a look at the chart right here. It's going to buffer, of course. Hey, there it is. Ooh. Let that load. Cool. So if we go down in this page, close that. Don't want to sign up for updates. Go down. See, we have the cruise speeds, the high cruise speeds, maximum speeds. Oh, okay. Maximum speed of 180. So that's flight mode. And then it has the landing roll distance and the useful load. So this is all stuff on this car. Sorry. Let's go back to this. Let's move on. The future of flying cars. It's pretty crazy. So many cities are already trying to add flying cars to their list of transportation, some of which is Dubai, which is already like a rich enough city. It's got like drone races and all this cool stuff. And Miami, they're hoping to add flying taxis to their list in the next 10 to 15 years. So that's pretty crazy. So the taxi company, even Uber, is already trying to develop flying cars that they want to test in Los Angeles and Dubai as early as 2020. So that's next year. Be prepared for that. So many flying car companies like Volocopter, Lilium, and Airbus's Van Hanna are already beginning to reveal their plans on flying cars for the new evolution of flying cars. So they wanted to create these humongous buildings and like put helipads on them or landing pads on the top for the air taxis that are supposedly quieter than a regular helicopter and are used for quick transport compared to the regular driving. So someone's going to make a ton of money off that. Yeah. Now, before we think that these are all cool and such, we better talk about a few social impacts that these flying cars are going to have on society. So let's talk about this. Flying cars may sound cool and all, but there will be some impacts, definitely some impacts to society that will follow with their creations. So the drivers of the flying cars are going to have to go through a whole bunch more training in order to be able to get their license to operate the cars. And not like it's already hard enough to get your driver's license for a normal vehicle, with your G1. Then if you want to take driver's ed, then your G2, and then your G, and then there's a whole bunch of other classes, blah, blah, blah. Great fun. So what happens if you get into an accident while driving a flying car? So the percentage of dying in a flying car would obviously be greater than a regular car, and the debris of the car would have to fall onto anything below it. So imagine if you're walking your dog or, flying around on your Swagtron, scooter thing, and this flying car lands on you, then obviously someone's getting sued or definitely someone's dying, supposedly. So that's definitely a social impact. So a lot more precautions would have to be taken in order to introduce these things into society. So there would have to be new rules made for these cars. For example, speed limit and other reckless driving rules. Police officers would have to be trained in order to enforce the law for the new vehicles, and fueling stations would have to be built for the cars. So a lot of money is going to have to be spent, not just on the cars, but on what the cars will need in order to function. And what about traffic signs? Are they going to have them floating in the air? Like speed limit signs and stuff like that. It's crazy. Crazy stuff. Crazy. Moving on. So now we're going to talk about the relation to computer science. This is the good stuff right here. So, the creation of flying cars has a relation to computer science, as most present-day vehicles already use a lot of technology coded or programmed by computer programmers. So what I'm talking about here is your screens in your cars, some vehicles can even play DVDs. I was watching Shrek 3 on my car the other day, just on the screen. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, so if we think about it, these vehicles will be more advanced than the ones we currently use in the present day and will more than likely use far more technology. So this is for the flying cars. It's going to be more technology, more advanced, more computer-related stuff. So this might not just be a new creation of transportation, but also for computer science, as new algorithms, ideas, or even a whole new way of programming could be introduced. So what I'm talking about is we could just develop a whole new way of computer science. So with more advances in technology, the more computer science is going to grow and become more part of the stuff that we use today. Just simple stuff like coffee machines. I think some coffee machines play jokes or something while you're cooking your coffee. I don't know where I read that. Search it up. Anyway, so the creation of more advanced flying cars might not only affect the transportation, but a whole list of secondary things that build up to make the cars. For example, GPS systems in vehicles now are in relation to computer programming, and all the screens you see in your vehicles are also. So the vehicle or the screen, if you have this in front of your steering wheel, tells you your tire pressure, if it's low or if it's high. It's all computer science related stuff. It's all numbers going in, numbers are crunched, numbers are shown to you. You decide if you need to stick more air in your tires or not. If you don't, that's not a good idea. Anyway, self-driving vehicles use computer science to drive themselves, as the new flying cars would maybe have their own autopilot for some reason. I guess they need that because that's super cool. All like Hollywood movies have that awesome autopilot kind of thing. Anyway, in conclusion, the creation of flying cars could open up a whole new world to computer programmers and coders. This is crazy. Real crazy stuff. So I guess we better move on to the end. Sources, all the pictures are numbered, so the sources are all there. And that is it. Thanks for listening to my 50-minute rant on flying cars. Peace.